This is the all-new 2021 Ford Edge Titanium. It's powered by a 2-liter turbo engine pushing out 250 horsepower. Now, we got some pretty amazing things that were upgraded inside of the 2021 model year. Most notably is the infotainment system, that Sync4 screen. I'm super excited to be sharing it with you today. Steve here, Cars with Steve, but before we get started, I want to give Marigold Ford a huge shout out and a thank you for giving me access to this vehicle today. Jump down to the description below in order to find their contact details. Now, on top of that, the channel's growing pretty well, so once I get to 3,500 subscribers, giving away 2 dash cams as well as a few gift cards to a couple lucky subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you do it, and if you enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up. Consider sharing it with your social networks, but let's dive into it and see what the new 2021 Ford Edge has to offer. Now, starting off, taking a peek under the hood. Now, a couple things to point out. The Ford Edge does technically have 2 available engine choices. The one that we're looking at is the 2-liter turbo. There is the option for the 2.7-liter, but you need to be in the Edge ST in order to get that 2.7. So in the 2-liter turbo, what we're looking at here is you can see easy access to a few things. We can easily top up and change some fluids if we need to. Easy access if we ever need to change our checker oil. We've got easy access to the battery if we ever need to give anybody a boost, and we've got our fuse panel access there as well. Nothing too much has changed underneath the hood there from the 2020 to the 2021 model year. It just looks very, very clean. Now, technology-wise, this is the 300 version of the vehicle. So we can go to the higher trim level, the 301A, but if we look at standard technology inside of the 300, so the Titanium, we've at least got our backup sensing system, we've got the reverse camera, and on top of that, we've also got the blind spot system. Lets us know if anybody's got the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, and there also is a lane keeping system. So when we get into the 301 version of the vehicle, we'll also have a forward sensing system and a front camera as well. So it's not a front 360, it's just going to be a front 180. Very similar to what we would see inside of the Bronco Sport and what we saw in the 2020 Edge as well. But nice look to it at the end of the day. This is the new gray. So last year it was known as a carbonized gray, different color choices that are available this year, but this thing does look incredibly sharp. Now, from a towing perspective, if you're ever considering towing in the Edge, get the factory tow option. Couple reasons why. If you do it aftermarket, you're going to be maxed out at around 1,500 pound towing capacity. Getting it from the factory, we're welded onto the frame. We've got a nice cutout along the back there, so it just looks aesthetically more pleasing. And on top of that, towing capacity inside of this thing is going to be 3,500 pounds when you get it from the factory. So I definitely recommend looking at the factory option if you're ever going to be towing inside of the Edge. Next up, taking a peek at the key fob. So nothing's changed on the fob from the 2020 to the 2021 model year, but we've got our unlock and our lock button, our remote start, our trunk release, as well as our horn or a panic alarm button. And on top of that, we've also got this, which is going to be our emergency access key, which gives us the ability to unlock the vehicle if for whatever reason the key fob's decided to die on us. Now, in order to be able to remote start, all we're going to do is press the lock button once and the circle button twice. Now, that's remote starting from the key fob. We do have the option of using the Ford Pass app on our cell phone in order to remote start. In order to cancel remote start on the fob, we're just going to press that circle button again once, and remote start is now canceled. Now, getting inside of the trunk on this thing, there's a few different ways that we can do it. So if we start off looking on the key fob, if we double press this button, that's going to allow the trunk to open up. However, we've also got a button on the outside. So just underneath, as you can see there, we've got a little button there, so we can press that in order to open this thing up. But one of the nice things about the Edges is that, especially on the Titanium or the ST trim level, we've got a foot-activated power liftgate. So if for whatever reason you've got, maybe hands full of groceries, kids, whatever the case may be, all you're going to do is just swipe your foot underneath and step back. As you can see, foot-activated liftgate. So taking a peek there, as you can see, we do have quite a little bit of space from a cargo perspective, so we can get tons of things inside of it. And as you can see there, we're a 60-40 split, so 60% driver, 40% passenger, so we can fold either side down if we need a little bit of extra space. Now, taking a look at both seats folded down, so as you can see there, so a lot more depth inside of this thing. So if you need to carry a few more things, you've got the capabilities to do that. Now, that's one of the nice things about the Edge compared to the Escape. You're going to get infinitely more trunk space. And as I mentioned, 60-40 split, so 60% driver, 40% passenger, which is going to give you the flexibility to fold down one seat or the other. But let's have a little bit of a closer look on the inside. All right, so a couple things to point out. Now, one of the nice things about the Edge Titanium is that we do have power seats for that third row. So it's power down and then manual up. So you've got the ability to easily fold them down if you'd like to manually. So let's actually show you how that process works. So just along the back there, as you can see, we've got a little lever. We're just gonna crank that lever up in order to fold that seat down. But if you're in the trunk, you don't need to go to the side. All you can do is either press and hold one of these sides. So if we press and hold left, look at that, power down, and then it's just manual to lift it back up again. Looking in the back, we've got a few cargo hooks. Along the other side, same thing. We've got a little bit of pocket storage in the back there. And we've also got, just to the right-hand side of those buttons, we've got a traditional cigarette lighter adapter. Now, as we start to look underneath here, as you can see, we do have that mini spare tire, and we also have a little bit of storage space along both sides. Now, if we want to close that lift gate again, we can double press on the key fob. There's a button along the top there, and there's also a button just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. Now, one of the nice things is that the liftgate is also adjustable. So if you're in a parking spot or parking garage where you might not have enough space along the top there, you can kind of manually adjust. And then all you're gonna do is press and hold this button here. And then we get a small chime, and that's going to lock it in place. So it's never gonna go higher than this. Now, if for whatever reason you kind of mess up, all you can do is you can just manually lift it back up again. Once you get the height that you'd like, same idea. All you're gonna do is press and hold this button. We get a small chime there, and we're now locked back into place. Filling up in gas in the vehicle is a very straightforward process. So if you take a look there, we've got a little button on the driver's side door. We're just gonna press that, and that's gonna open up, and we've got a capless system. So what we're gonna do is just insert your fuel hose, you're gonna fill up, and once you're set to go, you're just gonna click, lock it back into place, and you're set to go. From a fuel quality perspective, you just need to use your regular 87 octane, so just regular gas inside of this vehicle. Now, taking a look at second row spacing. So I'm 6 feet tall. I've got the driver's seat set up for somebody who's 6 feet tall. I still have a ton of room in the back there for my knees, a ton of space for my feet as well. Now, one thing to note, this one does have the twin panel sunroof. So the panoramic roof, I've got an inch or so, about an inch or so up overhead in this seat. So just definitely something to consider there. If you've got taller passengers, you might have to look at the option without the sunroof or get them to sit inside of the driver or passenger seat or in this middle row. Now, we are in the 2021 model of the vehicles in the titanium. So the 300 pack of the titanium does not have heated second row seats. If we were in an option with those second row seats, it would be the driver and the passenger side. So that middle seat is not going to be heated whatsoever, unfortunately. Okay, now a couple other things to point out. So as you can see there along the bench seat in the middle, we do have a few cup holders, so we can just pull that down in order to reveal them and just lift it back up in order to lock it into place. Technology-wise in that back row, as you can see there, we've really got a few things. So not a ton of stuff, but we do have our USB port, so our traditional USB and our USB-C, as well as a 150 volt traditional wall outlet. So if you need to plug in an adapter, you've got the capabilities to easily do that. We've got pockets on both the driver and the passenger side, and a few speakers along the back there as well, and then a nice leather trim. Taking a peek along the driver's side door. So, few things to point out that are going to be different from the 2020 versus the 2021 model year. We're in the 300 version of the vehicle, which means that we don't have the telescopic power steering wheel standard. That we have to jump up to the 301 package in order to get that now. But we do have some things that are going to be the same. So we do still have our seat memory buttons. We've got the upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system, and very straightforward, typical buttons that we would see there. The ability to adjust our side view mirrors, kill off power to those rear windows, and then the ability to adjust our windows as well. Got a nice leather trim along our side there, so along the driver's door, and that really carries through along the entire dash as well. One of the nice things, as I mentioned, we do have the seat memory buttons. So we do have the ability to program in our side view mirror as well as our driver's seat in order to be able to save up to 3 individual profiles. So you'd set your driver's seat, set your side view mirror, and then press and hold either 1, 2, or 3 in order to be able to set that profile up for yourself. Now, moving just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel, we've got a series of different buttons there. So first one, this is going to be for our fog lamps. So we've got the ability to turn our fog lamps on or off, and we've got a selector switch to let us know what's going on with our running lamps. So we can either have them off permanently, we can have them on permanently, or on auto. I do recommend keeping it on the auto setting, and the reason why is it's because it's automatically going to flip us between our daytime or our nighttime running lamps, depending on how bright it is outside. We've got the ability to adjust the brightness of our screen, so our cluster screen there, we can make that darker or brighter. We can turn our traction control on or off, and we've also got the ability to either open or close our tailgate on the inside. As we start to move down, we've got a little fuse panel, and if we ever need to get into, or under the hood I should say, we've also got a release in order to be able to open up that latch. Now moving down a little bit more. Now one thing to note is that this little edge emblem here, now in the 2020 model, this was actually illuminated. So in 2021, no longer illuminated, but it's got a nice aluminum look to it. So just one other small difference between the 2021 and the 2020 models. Adjusting the driver's seat inside of the 2021 Edge is a very straightforward process. So we do have power adjustable seats, and that's going to be for the driver and for the passenger side. So just on our left-hand side, we've got a series of levers. The lever in the very front is actually going to move the seat forwards or backwards. We can raise the whole seat up, or we can lower the whole seat down. Next lever over is going to be for our backrest, so we can use that in order to move the backrest forwards or backwards. And then the last one is going to be a little round button, and that's going to be for our powered lumbar support. So we can adjust that as necessary. So really, really nice, especially if you've got a little bit of pressure in your lower back. Now adjusting the steering wheel inside of the 2021 Edge, slightly different. In the base 300 pack, it's a manual process. In the 301, it's power. Both of them are telescopic, so it's just going to be a matter of whether you want it power or manual. That's going to be your 300 versus the 301. But if we go just between our legs there's a little lever. We're just going to crank that down, and like I mentioned, telescopic, so we can come in towards us, we can push it away, we can go up or down. Once you've got that perfect position, you're just going to take that lever again, crank it up, log it back into place. All right, now this is the all-new Sync4 screen inside of the 2021 Ford Edge. Now this is the way it's going to look regardless of whatever trim level that you're on. So we've got a beautiful setup there. So we've got our map display, we've got some basic settings, and our climate control settings. So in the 2020 Edge, climate control settings were a little bit further down. They've moved everything, it's now completely digital. This really reminds me of the Mustang Mach-E. If you haven't seen that video yet, drop down in the description below. I do a full vehicle walk around and take that thing for a test drive as well. But this really does remind me of that Mustang Mach-E screen. So I love the look, nice, and it really is kind of, it just looks beautiful. It's really pushed into the dash nicely, and it just kind of stands out in a really, really great way. Now, when it comes down to feature sets, there's quite a lot of stuff to cover off inside of this vehicle. So let's kind of go a little bit one at a time. So starting off, we're actually going to begin at the very top left-hand side, so in the car there. And that's going to give us the ability to change on our treble, mid-range, bass, and a few other things. We've got our balance and fade, which we can just kind of grab and select that and drop as necessary. If you kind of mess up the positioning, we're just going to do a reset, and that's going to bring us back to our master reset, to our factory default, I should say. We've got our speed compensated volume as well as our stereo mode, so different modes there. Next up, moving into radio. So radio, very straightforward. We've got a number of different preset pages. I always recommend turning this to the maximum. So we'll go 6 pages there. We've got our HD radio as well as the radio text. Radio text, I'll just keep that stuff on, and I'll explain why in just a second. So let's swipe up for a second, and we're going to click on our radio along the bottom there. So as you can see, we can change between either AM, FM, SiriusXM. If we had our phone connected and other things, those would also show up as available sources. But if we look at available presets, so we did change it out so that we had even more preset pages there. So we've got up to 30 individual presets, which are a mix between AM, FM, SiriusXM, etc. Now, one of the nice things is that if we are in a SiriusXM station, or if we moved ourselves to SiriusXM along the top, watch this. So we just hit the button along the top there, and we can now jump into SiriusXM. So we've got our favorites, listening history, different settings. So if we want to block out explicit content or specific channels, we've got the capabilities to do that. So really, really neat. And then when we jump back into, let's go either AM or FM, go back into our vehicle along the top there, it's now changed us back to the radio instead. Moving into our phone list. So the phone, one of the nice things about this Sync4 system is that it does support wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is new for 2021. So on your phone, in order to set up a phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, we'll start off on the iPhone side of things. All you're going to do is just make sure your phone's unlocked, and we're just going to go into our settings, make sure Bluetooth is turned on, and actually, next thing, we're going to have to make sure we hit Add Phone.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Okay, so as you can see there, Ford Edge is showing up, so we're just going to select that.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
Okay, and we need to make sure that the pin numbers match up, which they do, so we're going to hit Yes and Pair. Allow contacts and favorites to sync. Yep, we want to do that.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
Boom! We are connected. Now, as you can see there, we've got 911 Assist that's shown up as well, so select that one. And the big reason why is because if you're ever in an accident and the vehicle senses the collision, it's automatically going to dial 911 for you. So just make sure that one's selected, hit Finish. And lastly, it's also saying that my phone supports Apple CarPlay. So in order to enable, back on my phone, it's saying use CarPlay with Sync4. Yep, we want to do that. Okay, there we go. Phone supports Apple CarPlay, so we need to make sure that we enable it there. Connecting to CarPlay. All right, and we are now connected. So as you can see there, we've got my phone, messages, and one of the nice things is that if your Edge does not have maps built in, you can use Android Auto and Apple CarPlay wirelessly to connect to either Apple Maps, Google Maps, or Waze, and you can use those directly through this middle screen, which is incredible. Like, I love the fact that we've got that capability to do it, because if we don't want to rely on the factory navigation because maybe you prefer to use Waze instead, you've got the ability to easily do that. Moving back, as you can see, we've got some basic settings. We've got LiveX Live, which is a radio app, so we can use certain apps directly through this middle screen. Now, one thing to point out, if for whatever reason your app's not showing up, all you're going to do is make sure that your operating system's up to date, and from there, you're going to make sure that your app is up to date, and then you're set to go. Now, a couple things, and one of the nice things that I do like about CarPlay is that if we go into the general settings on our phone, we can go to CarPlay, we can select the vehicle, and we can now customize the tray. So where that comes into play is maybe you have a tendency to listen to your podcast more. We can drag that to the top, and that's dynamically adjusted it. Maybe you prefer to use Waze as well, so we've got both of them kind of simultaneously there. Now, as you're playing around with this, if you find that you've kind of done one too many things and you don't like the look of it, on your phone, all you're going to do is just hit the reset button along the top, reset layout, and watch what happens. So it's going to zero everything out, default you back to that factory default setting there instead. Now, we've got the ability to easily disable and toggle CarPlay on or off as necessary. So we've got my phone list, we can look at my phone, we can disable CarPlay, we can go to my phone settings, so we can completely remove it as well. So if we wanted to maybe disable Apple CarPlay, look at that, fully disabled now, but my phone is still connected over Bluetooth. So we've got a lot of flexibility when it comes down to it, and that's the basics of connecting an iPhone to this new Sync4 system. Connecting an Android device is literally the exact same process. So all we're going to do is just make sure that we go into our Bluetooth settings. And as you can see there, we've got my Bluetooth turned on. So we're just going to hit Add Phone.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
And we've got Forward Edge that's shown up. So we're just going to connect to Forward Edge. And watch this.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
So exact same thing. We just need to make sure that we're pairing there with the proper vehicle so pins match up. So we're going to hit yes and pair. All right, here we go. So as you can see there, I am connected. Now the device itself does support Android Auto, so we want to make sure that we enable that in just a second. So on the screen there, it's also asked me, do I want to allow access to my contacts? Yes, we want to allow. All right, and in order to use it, we just need to go to my car screen. So we need to enable Android Auto. Look at this, look at this. Android Auto would like to pair, so we're just going to select Next. 3, 2, 1, and we are connected. Look at this, look at this. So one of the nice things, we can use maps on there as well. So if you have a tendency to, I don't know, maybe you prefer to use Apple or Google Maps, I should say, if you had Waze connected, it would work directly through this middle screen as well. So as I mentioned, you don't have to rely on factory navigation anymore. You can now use Google Maps, Apple Maps, Android, whatever maps you want to directly through this middle screen. It's really, really nice, and it's laid out extremely well. Now, very similar to the Apple side of things. So if on our phone we do a search for Android Auto, there we go. As you can see, we've got some basic app settings and app information. So we just go to app settings and look at this. So we've got the car that we're currently connected to. We've got the ability to use our Google detection. We can resume media. We've got our Google Assistant and a number of other things. We've got the flexibility to kind of change things around a little bit as well. So if you have a tendency to maybe use certain apps or you don't want to use certain apps, we can kind of do a mix and match and kind of play around with them. But one of the nice things is that we do. So look at that. So customized launcher, very similar to what we saw on the Apple side of things. We can kind of drag these around if you have a tendency to listen to certain ones. Now, one thing that's different on the Android side of things is that we do need to actually reset Android Auto in order for this to work. So we just have to relaunch it in order for it to work, but you can dynamically update this as well. Moving back, so very similar to the Apple side of things, we've got our Siri dictation. We've also got Google dictation, so our Google Assistant. So we've got our notifications and our Google Assistant. So we can either press that button or we can say, "Hey Google." Look at that. So it's brought up our Google Assistant as well. Now, one thing to note is that in Canada, we do not have the Ford Alexa app. However, if you're down in the States, you've got the ability to use Ford Alexa directly through this middle screen as well. And that literally are the basics of setting up a phone, and very straightforward. We've got the ability to go back into our screen there. We can look at my phone list in order to see what phones are currently connected. Because we've got multiple phones connected, we can disable them, we can look at settings, we can set it as a favorite device if you've got multiple phones connected, and we can completely remove it. So we hit remove, and as you can see there, it is now fully removed from the vehicle, and I've just got my iPhone connected there. And that's the basics of how you set up a phone on this Sync4 screen. Now, as we start to move down, we've got some more advanced settings, so some vehicle settings there. So we've got our rear occupant alert. Watch what happens when I go to turn the vehicle off. That is really cool. That's a great setting, especially if you've got young kids. Just a little reminder and make sure we check that back seat, because God forbid something were to happen with the kids back there. So just really, really nice that we've got the capability to do that, and we've got the ability to disable that as well. So you don't have to worry about anybody in the back seat. You can disable it if you'd like to. We've got our serial number as well as our keypad code. So keypad code gives us the ability to access the vehicle using a 5-digit keypad on the outside of the vehicle. Let's hop outside to see how that looks. All right, now taking a look on the outside of the vehicle. So as you can see there, we've got a little keypad along the driver's side door there. So that's going to give us the ability to enter in the 5-digit number in order to be able to unlock this thing if we want to use this in order to be able to unlock the vehicle. And we've also got the capabilities to press and hold the bottom two buttons. So the 7-8 and then the 9-0. So we can press and hold those ones in order to be able to lock the door as well. Now there is going to be a 5-digit number that's going to be standard from the factory, but we've got the ability to enter in a number of other codes if we've got a 5-digit number that we're going to remember easier. And that's going to be the basics of the vehicle settings. We've got some general settings, so tons of general settings there. We've got the ability to change between English, Spanish, or French, kilometers or miles, Celsius or Fahrenheit, the beeping that we're getting here. If that beep drives you crazy, you've got the ability to disable it. We've got some basic sync info, software licenses, feedback, and a reset. So the reset, if for whatever reason, you've got to reset a few things. So a couple things. Forward Pass gives you the ability to remote start the vehicle directly through your cell phone and a few other things. If for whatever reason Forward Pass is giving you issues, you've got the ability to reset that. And we can also do a master reset. So master reset is going to bring us back to our factory defaults. So really useful if you're selling the vehicle, you can just hit master reset to bring you back to those factory settings instead. Moving into our display. So this thing is big, it's bright, it's beautiful. But if you find it's a little bit too much, we've got the ability to move to a calming screen instead. So as you can see there, very, very simple layout. Touch to bring it back to life. Jumping back in there, into our display. And we've also got the ability to adjust the brightness of the screen. So if you want it a little bit darker, a little bit brighter, or we can just reset it back. And the mode that we're looking at right now, it is technically the light mode. So when we're in the light versus the dark, it's going to depend on how bright it is outside. If we're in auto, we can permanently lock it out to this dark look instead, which looks incredibly sharp. We can lock it out permanently to the light mode, or we can let the vehicle determine if it should be the daytime or that nighttime mode that's showing instead. So again, it's really a matter of personal preference there. And we've got a number of other settings. So let's look into our clock now. So clock, we've got the ability to adjust either 1 hour or 1 minute. We've got AM, PM. We can switch to that military time, so that 24-hour time instead. And we've got an auto time update. So if we're going in between either different GPS locations, so if we're, maybe going from the East Coast to the West Coast, so changing time zones, or if you're, maybe daylight savings time, so we're springing forward or falling back an hour, the vehicle is automatically going to adjust that for us. We've got some basics for connectivity. So we've got connected vehicle features. So as you can see there, so we can turn the vehicle connectivity on or off, and we've got the ability to share vehicle data. We've got SiriusXM as well. So the vehicle itself is equipped with factory navigation, so connected navigation. When you get a new Ford vehicle, you've got 3 years of service that's included for that connected navigation. After that, it's going to be a paid subscription. But as I mentioned, you've got the ability to just use your factory settings there instead. So if you want to disable SiriusXM, you've got the capabilities to do that. Bluetooth, we've got the ability to toggle that on or off, and we can change our vehicle name as well, and that's kind of nice because that's new for the 2021 model year. Wireless app protection, as well as our Wi-Fi networks. So I definitely recommend connecting to Wi-Fi at home, and the big reason why is because we've got over-the-air updates. So if the vehicle senses that there's an update available, it's automatically going to check and then schedule the available update. So I definitely recommend connecting to a Wi-Fi network at home. Vehicle hotspot. The vehicle can be used as a wireless hotspot for up to 10 devices. Now you do need a mobile only plan directly through a cell phone provider in order to be able to get that, but it's nice to know that you've got the capabilities to do that. So you can kind of see what's going on with your data usage, and you can turn that hotspot on or off as necessary. We've got the ability to toggle mobile apps on or off. So I want to enable the apps, and we've got the ability to look at a few different things. So we've got LiveX Live, so we've got different permissions and things like that we can set. There are no specific permissions that we need in order to use them directly through this middle screen. They'll just be usable, which is fantastic. Moving into 911 Assist. So we've already touched base on that. So 911 Assist, that essentially is going to automatically dial 911 for us if the vehicle senses a collision. So that's really, really useful. We've got our voice control settings. So voice control setting, ton of different options that are available there. We've got the ability to look at some basic help. We've got the ability to listen for a wake word. So the wake word is actually an interesting one. So if you have a preference for there, but I want you to listen for a second. Okay, Ford. 94.9.
Tuning to FM 94.9.
So we can use our voice in order to wake the vehicle up to listen to either tune to a radio station, make a phone call, we can set navigation, we can do a number of other things. So we've got the capability just to select a word there. The advanced mode, that essentially means we're not going to get as many notifications. So when I just changed the station, it let me know that it was changing to that certain station. Now listen to this. Okay, Ford. 97.7. Okay, so we didn't get a notification that it was changing stations, but if we jump back into our home screen again, as you can see there, it did change the actual radio station that we were listening to. So that's really, really nice. We've got that flexibility and that capability there, is that in that advanced mode, we just won't get as many notifications as we go. And then we've got a few other ones. So that phone confirmation, do we want to call such and such person, yes or no? And then we've also got our voice command list. So that list is what comes up when we press the voice command button on the steering wheel. So when we do that, this is the command list. So whether or not you want that one to show up is going to be a matter of personal preference. Scrolling down, we've got our valet mode. Valet mode, we enter a 4-digit number and it locks the screen out. So you can't access any element of the screen until you re-enter that 4-digit number. Ambient light, there is ambient light that's going to be all throughout the vehicle in a couple different areas. We've got the ability to turn it on or off, and we can adjust the brightness from there. Now it is only a flat ambient light inside of this vehicle, but you've got it at a few different spots. So the cup holders by your feet, and then just along the driver's side door there as well. And that is going to be the basics of these basic vehicle settings. Next up, as we start to move up, we've got another button along the top there. We've got a hot button in order to press into our radio, phone, navigation, and a number of other things. There is a digital owner's manual now, so if there's a certain button or you're getting some sort of a weird message on the middle screen, you can jump in the manual in order to figure out what's going on there. You've got your Ford Pass button. LiveX Live is a radio app, so LiveX Live, Spotify, etc. will work directly through this middle screen. So with our notes, as you can see there, we've got the capabilities to kind of easily write things in if we need to. So if we're, we need to make a quick note, we've got the capabilities to do that. And we've got the ability to erase, we can save it. We've got a number of other brush strokes that we can use and numbers and a number of other things as well. So it's kind of an interesting one, fairly neat, but you can look through some saved notes as well if we had some saved options there. Now, pressing this button along the top, that's going to either increase or decrease the size there. Now, this is actually an interesting one because this is going to be dynamic based off of what we've looked at previously. So we can do a hot button press back into our radio if we want to. We can jump back into the owner's manual and a few other things. So as you can see there, we're back inside of our radio. Let's do a quick audio test. Incredible. Now this is the titanium version of the vehicle, so we've got a 12-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, which sounds absolutely incredible. So really, really nice. But as I mentioned, so these ones here, these are going to dynamically shift depending on what you've done previously inside of the vehicle. I'll give you an example. Let's say if we hop into my phone for a second, watch this. It's gotten rid of a few things. We jump into manual for a second there, and it's pushing things out. So it's whatever one you're typically using and whatever you're normally using, that's going to show up there. Now, as I mentioned, I do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay installed, so on the Apple CarPlay side of things, I've got it disabled. So I've got the ability, if I wanted to run off of Waze on my phone, or I can just stick to the factory navigation built into this thing instead. Next up, as we start to move down, as you can see, we've got some basic climate control settings. So a lot of flexibility and quite a few options available in this thing. So starting off, we do have dual zone climate control. So we've got the ability to adjust our climate control settings by moving this up or down. And let's say if the passenger likes things a little bit warmer, you've got the capabilities to set that up if you'd like to. Now, if we move into this is going to be the dynamic push for what's going on with it. So we can turn the system off completely if we want to. We've got the ability to turn our heated steering wheel on there, or we can press it just along the bottom instead. Our max air conditioning, and then what's going on? Is it blowing to our windshield, to our face, or to our feet? And as you can see there, we've also got dual zone. So dual zone essentially lets it be separate for the driver versus the passenger. Turning it back off, and we can hide that tray. We can automatically let the vehicle determine what the cabin temperature should be. We've got our air conditioning button on or off, and as I mentioned, we do have heated seats. So we've got the ability to turn our heated steering wheel on, but we've also got heated seats. Now, because we're in the 300 version of the vehicle, strictly heated seats, but if we were to jump into the 301 version instead, so the higher trim level, that gives us heated and cooled front seats. So whether or not that one's worth it for you is going to depend on your budget, but we are $5,000 more to get into that 301 package instead. We've got the ability to select what's going on with our fan speed. We can do max windshield defroster, rear window defroster, and then turn on our heated seat. Now, as we start to move down, so a few things to point out there. As you can see, we do have the ability to adjust our volume just on the left-hand side, and then we can turn the audio on or off. We've got our four-way blinkers, max windshield defroster, and then a hot button press in order to access our rear view camera. Now, one thing to note, this one strictly does have the rear view camera. In the 301 version of the vehicle, we would have a front-facing camera as well. It's not a full 360, it would just be a front and then a backup camera as well. As we start to move down, we can either change between radio stations or songs, we can play or pause, and then we can tune. So this tuning rocker is probably it's not going to be the most realistic way to tune, because we've got the ability to, as we press the button there. So as you can see there, we can kind of tune this way, we can do plus or minus, or the better way to do it, I should say, is going to be using this, so the voice button on our steering wheel. Now, as we start to move down a tiny little bit, now one of the nice things about the Edge Titanium is that it does have a wireless charging pad. So if you've got a phone that supports wireless charging, you're just going to drop your phone in there. And as you can see, well, you might not be able to see it from the direction I'm looking at it there, but we are charging up directly through this pad here, which is really, really great. We've got our USB ports, our traditional USB, and our USB-C. Now, on top of that, as you can see, we also do have a little storage area if we wanted to put our phone there. We've got a few cup holders, and we've got our shifter. So we've got the ability to change between park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then our sport mode. So sport mode, the vehicle itself actually does have paddle shifters, so our plus and minus buttons there. So when we're in the regular drive mode, we've got the capabilities to change out gears. When we're in the sport mode, it's going to hold those gears longer. As we start to move down, we've got our electronic parking brake, and we've also got our engine start-stop button there. Now, on top of that, one more, we do have another area to either store a phone, or if we've got some extras that we need to store in there. And flipping it around, as you can see, we've got a little storage area as well. So we've got a little removable tray, 12-volt adapter along the side, so traditional cigarette lighter adapter as well. Next up, let's take a look at the steering wheel. So a couple things to point out. We're in the 300 pack of the vehicle, and this specific one does not have the added package to get the adaptive cruise control system on. Now, if you're in the 301 version of the vehicle, you will have adaptive cruise, but as it stands, we're just looking at our regular cruise. So we've got our on-off switches. We can set or we can increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. We can resume or we can cancel out the cruise control if we want to. Along the right-hand side, we've got the ability to either change between songs or radio stations. We can answer a phone call, or we can hang up on a phone call. And we've got the ability to either increase or decrease our audio. We can mute it out if we want to, or we've got a hotkey in order to press for our voice command prompts. So with that hot button press, we've got the ability to we can make a phone call, we can change radio stations, or we can navigate just by pressing that middle button. Now, we also do have two individual pads there. Pad on the left is going to be for that mini left screen. Pad on the right is going to be for that mini right screen. So let's start off on that little right screen for a second there. So the directional pad, we would just go up and down with it, and then we would press OK or right or left in order to get to the next screen. So starting off in entertainment, we can, if we want to, go between AM, FM. We've got our LiveX Live, SiriusXM. We can jump into CarPlay as well. Or we can jump back out into our navigation. So navigation, we've got our compass showing there. Phone, we can look at my incoming calls, outgoing calls, missed calls, etc. And that's going to be, honestly, the very, very simple, but that is the basics of that right screen. Now, as we move off to the left, that's where we get into some more advanced settings. So let's zoom you in a tiny little bit. All right, so starting off at the very top there. So display modes, we've got a few different options. So we've got our tachometer. We've got our tachometer with our fuel gauge, as well as the heat there. We've got our tire pressure and our digital speedometer, intelligent all-wheel drive, and then our distance to empty. Moving back out, we've got our different trip counters. So we've got our trip 1 and 2, and we would just press and hold the OK button on the steering wheel in order to bring that back down to our defaults again. And moving back, we've got our fuel economy. So we can kind of see what's going on with our fuel there. Driver assistance settings, we've got a few different options. So blind spot system lets us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. When a vehicle enters our blind spot, you see that little orange one that's highlighting there. That's going to highlight orange and let us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. As we start to move down, we've got our cross traffic alert. So if a vehicle comes perpendicular from the left or the right hand side, we're going to get a notification letting us know that. Driver alert. If we're veering over into our lane too many times without signaling, we're going to get an alert letting us know that we should probably take a break. Lane keeping system works 3 different ways. We've got our alert, so that's actually going to, if we start to veer over into our lane without signaling, we're going to get a little bit of a steering wheel shake, almost as if we're running over a rumble pavement. The next one is going to be an aid. So if we start to veer over into a lane without signaling, the car will actually take over the steering wheel and recenter us and pull us back into our lane. And the alert and the aid will do both. So on the alert and the aid, we're going to get a little bit of a steering wheel shake and it'll recenter us and pull us back into our lane. The intensity is going to be the intensity of that steering wheel shake. So either a high, normal, or a low shake. Pre-collision assist, if the vehicle senses a potential collision with this setting turned on, it's automatically going to brake for us. Reverse parking aid, as we start to back up, that beeping that we get, we can turn that one on or off. Trailer sway control. So if the vehicle senses potential trailer sway going on, it's automatically going to apply braking to the engine in order to get that one under control. And that's one of the big reasons why I recommend looking at getting the trailer tow package from the factory to make sure that you get that setting. Basic settings, we've got the ability to turn our auto engine off, on or off if we'd like to. We've got our DTE calculation, easy entry exit, which that one, if we turn that one on, when we turn the vehicle off, it's actually going to bring the driver's seat back in order for us to get in and out of the vehicle a little bit easier. Lighting, we've got our auto high beams. So if the vehicle senses it's too dark outside, it's automatically going to turn our high beams on for us. And then if it recognizes an oncoming vehicle, it's automatically going to dim the lights before turning them off completely and then bringing them right back onto our light again. So really, really nice. Do we have the ability to use a stick in order to be able to flip our high beams on or off? Absolutely. But knowing that we've got the ability to just set it to an auto setting instead is a huge, huge benefit. And then we've got our auto lamp delay. So when we go to lock the vehicle, do the lights stay on for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or 120 seconds? Our locks, we've got a few things there. Auto unlock is going to be if the vehicle senses the fob in our pocket. The mist lock is actually an interesting one. So if the vehicle senses that we don't properly shut a door and we go to lock, we're going to get a double chirp letting us know about that. Remote unlock, when we go to unlock the vehicle from the key fob, do all doors become unlocked or is it just the driver's door? So a matter of preference there. And we've got our oil life. So if we're changing our oil ourselves, we can do our reset. Our power liftgate on the outside, we can either enable or disable the switch. Remote start, we do have the ability to remote start either through the key fob or through our cell phone. If we're remote starting, do we actually even want that system to be on or off? We can toggle it on or off if we'd like to, but if we remote start, what happens? Are we going to let the vehicle determine what the cabin temperature should be, or is it going to be based off of our last setting? Our seats and wheel, is it going to let the heated seats, cooled seats, or the heated steering wheel come on? And the duration of the start, 5, 10, or 15 minutes. Our windows, we've got the ability to use our key fob in order to remote open the windows. Let's hop outside and see how that works. Rolling down the windows using the key fob is a very straightforward process. So all we're going to do is press the unlock button twice. On the second press, we're going to hold. So 1, 2, and hold. So as you can see there, it is powered down. However, it is manual backup. So really, really nice if we want to make sure that our windows are down for those hot summer days. So really, really cool process there. Looking at the wipers, we've got a few settings. So the courtesy wipe, if we've got our windshield wipers going and with the courtesy wipe turned on, it's just going to wipe one more time to get rid of any excess liquid we might have on the windshield. Rain sensing wipers, if the vehicle senses that there's rain hitting the windshield, it's automatically going to turn on the wipers. If you're going into a car wash, just make sure you turn the rain sensing wipers off. That's going to be the basics of the vehicle settings. MyKey gives you the ability to set up limitations for a key fob. So you can limit the speed, you can make sure the audio doesn't come on, etc. All based off of an individual fob. Display setup, we've got our different units there. So either liters per 100, miles per gallon, etc. We've got different temperature settings, our gauge display, so our fuel gauge or the fuel and tachometer as well. So really a matter of preference there. We've got our tire pressure, our language, so English, Spanish, or French. And that's going to be the basics of these settings there. So you can kind of play around with it as you go and get the best settings for you. All right, now along our left-hand stick there. So one thing to point out, we've got our lane keeping system. So we can toggle that system on or off. So as you can see there, we know that it's actually activated when we see these lanes show up. So a couple things to take into consideration there. So the system itself won't actually turn on until you hit about 60 kilometers an hour, and those are going to go green. Now, if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, the side that we're kind of veering over on is going to turn red, and then it's either going to give us a steering wheel shake, it's going to recenter us and pull us back into our lane, or do both, depending on how you have it set up there. Moving along our other side, we've got the ability to toggle on our rear wipers, so we can turn that one on or off fairly easily. And as we start to move overhead, so a few things to point out. Now this one here does have home link, so the ability to program in a garage door opener code at home. And moving down, as we can see there, we do have our mirror there with lights. We can crank this thing open and we can slide it backwards a little bit if we want to block some sun out as well. Click that back up into place. Now, as you can see along the top, we do have a sunglasses holder, which is going to be traditional inside of Ford vehicles. We do have our cabin lighting controls, so we can turn on the lights individually. We can have all cabin lights on, and then whether or not the lights come on with the doors open. Now, these are going to be the controls for our sunshade. So we've got the ability to add this sunroof in. If we don't want the sunroof, these buttons just wouldn't be there. Without the sunroof, you're going to get about an extra inch or two up overhead as well. So that one, again, really going to be a matter of personal preference there. But it does really open the vehicle up quite a little bit when you do it. And you've got the ability to either pop it up a little bit in order to kind of create a little bit of an airflow, or we can open this window up if we'd like to. So really, really great look, and it really opens things up. But again, that one's going to be a matter of personal preference. Now, the other thing to point out, we do have an auto dimming mirror there. So the auto dimming mirror, really, really beneficial, because if the vehicle senses that there's a vehicle behind us with its lights a little bit too bright, it's going to automatically dim it for us, rather than that old style flip switch that we would normally see along the bottom there. Well, folks, that was a look at the all-new 2021 Ford Edge Titanium. What did you think? I think it's kind of neat. I love the fact that they've changed the screen out. They've given us that Sync4 system with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay capabilities that are now wireless. Share your thoughts down below. If you have any questions, drop down in the comment section below and let me know. If you enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, or sharing it with your social network. And until I see you next time, make sure you stay safe. On top of that, it's also cut out in the rear bumper. Now, towing wise, that's hilarious. Foot activated liftgate, and it recognizes it. That's hilarious. So it's not illuminated, how now brown cow. Pre-collision assist, if the vehicle senses a potential collision, it's actively going to brake for us with that signal,